Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witch is dead. Welcome to LA Rams Central. It's been a while. A lot of things going on. This show is going to be brief. The reason I haven't had a show the last few weeks, partly because I've not been in the right state of mind. I've wanted to throttle some things. Being a Rams fan, it's been very, very difficult, as you guys all know out there in LA and all around the U.S. that's watching this show. But I haven't had anything really productive to say. It's kind of been the same stuff over and over again. So for me, there was no point to report. I was waiting to see what the Chargers were going to do, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. But essentially, I'm going to talk about coaching candidates. I'm going to talk about where the Rams go from here. I'm going to talk about why they made this decision, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about the upcoming game on Thursday against Seattle. So that's going to make it up here. So let me just start with the obvious not so breaking news at this point, and the great news that the Rams have fired Jeff Fisher as their head coach. The interim coach is going to be John Fossil, the special teams coach, which many people feel the reason they made that move is because they feel like the special teams has been rock solid all year long and has been for a couple of years. So it's kind of a tip of the hat to John Fossil, Jim Fossil's son, and giving him that opportunity here for the next 3 weeks. We'll see if the Rams are able to beat Seattle, but I felt all along, even with Jeff Fisher, winning at home against San Francisco and Arizona was a possibility. Now I definitely think it's a possibility with there being no Jeff Fisher. Boris will be the next to go. They will not be bringing him back regardless when the season is over. Same with Chris Winkie, and same with Greg Williams, I can only imagine. So let me start with a few things here first. I want to thank the Ram fans for listening. I'm not going to have any delusions of grandeur saying that all of you out there, did what I told you to do and that's why he got fired. But I had been calling for you to boo him out of the building from the moment he steps on the field to the moment he leaves the field. And do what you feel you need to do to move the dial on this issue. Not going to the game scared Stan Kroenke right out of his pants. So I think reality set in pretty darn quick that they needed to address this issue before it got worse. So kudos to the Ram fans out there for doing that. There's a multitude of reasons Jeff Fisher was fired. I don't feel like he was listening to administration when it came to Jared Goff. He was going to do his own thing. I think the reason the Boris rumors came around about firing Rob Boris was because the front office was saying, hey, this guy needs to go. There needs to be a change. To show you the stubbornness of Jeff Fisher and really the arrogance, there's 3 things that played a part here. What he did with Eric Dickerson, no question, stunk to high heaven. And to turn around and make a secondary statement saying that basically Eric Dickerson was a liar, we don't need to go to practice to see what the Rams are doing. We don't. It has nothing to do with what's happening on the practice field. You guys can put up the greatest practice week in the history of football at any level, but when you go out there on Sunday night or Sunday afternoon and you play the way you do, you got to go. So that's one. Telling Eric Dickerson that he needed to come to the practice before he could open his mouth. No. Eric Dickerson's played this game. He's a Hall of Famer. He's earned the right to criticize, number one. And number two, ain't nobody need to go to practice to see what you're doing. Because if you're executing in practice and you're not executing on the field, then you should have resigned 6 weeks ago. So I don't believe they were performing in practice. I don't believe, we had the greatest week of practice and we're ready to play Atlanta. What were you practicing against? Were you practicing with the offense having 6 guys and you having 11? Were you not letting the front 4 pressure the quarterback? Were you making the linebackers go cover 2 all the time and not showing any blitzes? Because I'll tell you something. When Atlanta did their 2 basic blitzes, what they call the zone dog blitz and what they call the A-gap blitz, the Rams look like a freaking Pop Warner team. Forget middle school like Todd Gurley said. It looked like a goddamn Pop Warner team. So I don't want to hear about going to practice and seeing what you're doing because you suck at what you do, and Sunday proved it. So that's number one. Eric Dickerson didn't need to go to practice. That whole statement fried the hair right off my derriere. Number two is what he said Sunday after the game. which is, and guys, I'm telling you, this is coach speak for I don't know how to fix the problem, okay? That's the translation. The words that he used was the following, that he's not sure what's going on because they're executing in practice and they got to figure out how to translate that to the games. So that's coach speak for I can't fix this problem. So Stan Kroenke gave him owner speak for get the hell out my building. Simple as that. So when you don't know how to make it translate, you cease to be the head coach of anybody. And I've seen it firsthand in my experience as an OC, doing everything I could to fix the problem and having the head coach give up. Number 3, and I cannot state this enough. If there was a rift with the front office, I'm putting that aside. There is no doubt in my mind that Jeff Fisher's arrogance is what finally did him in. Jeff Fisher was pressured to play Jared Goff early on. I'm telling you he was. I'm telling you. I would put my house on the line. I'm that positive. Okay? But he refused to do it because Jeff Fisher was going to do it his way. They told him to get rid of the OC. He refused to do it. Said he's not going to get rid of the offensive coordinator. Players got to execute on the field. Then you go back to where this all started for me. So I'm going to walk you through where this all started for me. You call in James Laurinaitis, who is lifting at the facility, the only one lifting at the facility, mind you, to inform him you're not bringing him back. The minute you cut the heart and soul of your defense out of the lineup permanently, there becomes a vacuum. The guys don't know Alec Ogletree enough or respect him enough as a middle linebacker because he never played it to make it, yeah, I can trust this guy unequivocally. And then you let go of Chris Long. You let go of Chris Long literally in the same day. So the two guys that were the staple, the anchor of your football team for not decades, but for years, you let go unceremoniously and replaced him with nothing. I love William Hayes. He's a great ball player. He could have used another year under Chris Long, spelling for him, playing for him, and eventually taking it over. But he wasn't ready this year. And I'm sorry, but Alec Ogletree is an infinite better linebacker than he is a middle. So I understand injuries were an issue with Long, and age was a concern for Laurinaitis, but you had nothing to replace them with. You cannot take the car to the shop when you have no car to get you to work. If it's running, let it run and get yourself a replacement before you sell it. But they didn't do that. They didn't forget the shop. They sold it. So then they were trying to jerry-rig the entire system, which explains why the defense fell apart. Then you go back to the fact that they didn't make any moves in the offseason whatsoever, didn't address any of their line issues, which I'm now convinced Jeff Fisher believed that his offensive line, and don't take, you know what, take a little offense to this out there. There's a couple of you back in week 1, 2, and week 3 that were giving me a hard time about our O-line. Defending John Havenstein, defending Brown, defending Robinson, defending Saffold, defending Barnes. And these guys were garbage last year. I don't want to hear about all pro because that's a joke. They were garbage this year. We had an opportunity to get a potential Hall of Fame left tackle in Okun and insert him in the lineup and instantly protect a rookie quarterback's backside. What did we do? What did we spend the money on? Nothing. We spent the money on nothing. And we had Greg Robinson, the worst left tackle to have ever played the game. He's the worst. He doesn't block anybody. He doesn't stay on sides. He holds like a crazy man. The man has the ability of a corpse. I can put a dead body out there at left tackle, and it will commit less penalties. And certainly do a better job of blocking and getting in the way of the defender. But you all defended him out there, and you all defended the O-line, and the O-line has been the crucial problem from the word go this season. going back to week one's 28-0 debacle. And then Case Keenum was 1B. So, those are the reasons Fisher's gone. I believe. I got my buddy calling. Be right back. All right, before I jump into the second segment, I've got Eric on the line. He was the one I was waiting to call me back. I want to finish this statement. So the three reasons Fisher was gone was his arrogance, as we talked about, not getting the O-line improved in the offseason by insisting his guys were the right people, and some of you were at fault out there too, questioning me back in week 1 through 5 that the O-line wasn't the problem when it clearly was. Number 2 was the fact, plain and simple, that I think the organization was pressuring him to make moves that he refused to make. And we talked about some of the other mistakes. Obviously, his game management, all of that stuff goes completely into the tank as well. But the big one for me was coach speak, as we talked about. When you say to the fans and you say at your press conference that you're not sure why it's not translating from practice to the field, that's coach speak for, I don't know how to fix this problem because I don't know what the problem is. So, like I said, Kroenke gave him owner speak for get the hell out my building. Now, the third thing was Dickerson. Like I said before, I don't need to go to practice to see the garbage you're putting on the field, let alone a Hall of Famer who's been there, done that, and played the game for how many years and led the league in rushing how many times and played behind some bad quarterbacks. He knows what goes on at practice. And it doesn't matter what goes on at practice when your product on the field is garbage. And that's what it was. So Fisher's out the building. Thank God. Ding dong, the witch is dead, and I couldn't be happier. Now, next segment. There's some controversy here. There's some disagreements. Me and the young man on the phone, I say young because I'm older by 2 years?
Something like that.
Yeah, because I'm an old fart and you're not, right? Anyway, I don't know if it's the fact that he's got a new baby on the brain, but he made a really foolish bet with me today. He did. So there's a lot of candidates we're going to talk about, but I want to start with the bet. So if you don't know, out there, my friend Eric is expecting his 19th child. I'm kidding. It's only 4. Actually, it's just 3. It's just 3. One more and he reaches litterhood, but we're all very happy for him. So I think he has baby on the brain because he made a bet that he's going to lose pretty bad. And the bet was this. If I'm right, then he has to pay my fee into his fantasy league next year. So I'm looking forward to a free year of fantasy football. If I'm wrong, I'm going to pay double what the entry fee is next year. And here's the bet out there, folks. The bet is the very first candidate I want to talk about. I've been saying, and you know this, Eric, since what? Week 1? I've been saying that the Rams...
You've been saying this since last year.
Yeah, that's true. Since last year, absolutely. So what I've been saying is that, and it's been all over the news, that the next head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, in my opinion, without question, is going to be Jim Harbaugh of the Michigan Wolverines. They will throw the bus at him to get him back. Now, here's why I say this. First of all, he's got nothing to prove in Michigan. He's already an alum there. And I think if you throw enough money at him with enough potential power, that'll draw him. But there's one other factor. The opportunity to stick it to the San Francisco 49ers, not once a year, but twice a year, and once in their own building guaranteed, I think is too enticing. Plus it's LA, plus it's an opportunity to get a program, if you want to call it the NFL a program, I say organization, an organization that has been in the doldrums since 2003, even though 2004 we had a playoff year, to take them, which has been down in the dumps for 12 years, and turn them into an instant winner. I think it's the popularity, the money, the publicity, the lucrative deals that will come his way. It's too much. He's going to take the job. So I think Jim Harbaugh is a foregone conclusion. We will talk about other candidates, but that's why I think the Rams are going to get Jim Harbaugh. Now, you want to lose a bet, that's fine, but will you go ahead and say why you think he's not going to be the next Rams head coach?
I will tell you exactly why you're going to be paid double for your fantasy entry next year.
Okay.
Jim Harbaugh is 2 years into Michigan. Jim Harbaugh is 0-2 versus Ohio State. If this were Jim Harbaugh's 7th year at Michigan, and he were 5-2 against Ohio State, I never would have made the bet. Harbaugh has too much to prove. He's making $8 million at Michigan, the highest college-paid head coach currently, and that's over Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
So, the funny rumor that I heard today is that Florida Atlantic University dismissed Lane Kiffin because he wants to be the Rams' next head coach.
Well, that's funny because he's not going to be. So here's the thing.
Anyways, but here's I'm not finished with Harbaugh yet.
Okay.
Harbaugh has too much left to prove at the University of Michigan to where he wants to get over the hump, beat Ohio State, prove that he can get into the college playoff, even though he, tried to do it just by with his press conferences, his words after games about, Penn State beating Wisconsin, and we beat Penn State. We beat Penn State. We should be in there. He wants to get in the college football playoff. He wants that chance. He hasn't fulfilled his obligations, I think, personally on a coaching level at Michigan. And if the Rams are going to throw a bunch of money at a head coach, it's going to be somebody, but it ain't going to be Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, here's the thing you're not taking into consideration. He left San Francisco unceremoniously. He had something to prove there. You think losing to his brother in the Super Bowl was the way he wanted to go out?
Not at all. Not at all. That is the only good reason out of the three that you gave for Harbaugh wanting to come back to the NFL. Harbaugh will eventually come back to the NFL, but it's not going to be for 2017 Los Angeles Rams.
I just, what other team is there that's better than what the Rams can offer? Where are you going to go?
Well, maybe he looks at the Rams right currently as constructed and doesn't think that he can work with that roster. It's just speculative.
Okay.
He's got a good running back. Maybe he's not sure how well him and Jared Goff could mesh. That's also a possibility. How much power is Harbaugh going to want if he does sign on in L.A.? Because obviously there had to have been some sort of power struggle between Snead and Fisher. And one of the opening lines in the reason why Fisher was fired, they didn't provide enough depth on the field for positions. Well, whose fault is that? Is that Fisher's? Because apparently he had a lot of say with personnel. Is that Snead's? Or does it go up the chain up to Kroenke and saying, hey, we need depth, build depth, a really good football team with depth, and then we'll go from there.
Well, apparently
they didn't do that.
Let me give you a little bit of breaking news here. Demoff, the Rams COO, refused to basically say that Snead is safe. So you tell Jim Harbaugh, you're not only head coach, you're GM. He's coming. Just going to throw that out there. Because I think you give him as much power as you need because he's a proven commodity. He turned Alex Smith around. He made Colin Kaepernick look like a professional quarterback. He's the only one to do it. He turned Andrew Luck into a superstar. Look at what he's done in Michigan with those quarterbacks. Now you've got a guy who's infinitely more talented than any of those with the exception of Andrew Luck that I mentioned. Okay? What he can do with Andrew Luck is unparalleled. As far as the Rams go, Eric, I believe this strongly. The Rams are an offensive line and a secondary away from being competitive. And you can get the O-line, a couple of those pieces in the O-line in free agency this year. And you can get the secondary in the draft and in free agency because the Rams have money to burn. I think it's a very strong possibility. Okay, we disagree on Jim Harbaugh, and that's fair. But there's a handful of other coaching candidates I've heard, and there's one that I want to mention to you as a possibility, and I want to get your opinion on it. Actually, two. So say yes if you've heard these same names, okay? And I'll talk about them individually in a minute. Kyle Shanahan from the Atlanta Falcons, the OC. Yep. Like that idea. I think he would be an interesting young pick. I've heard the the Patriots offensive coordinator, Josh McScandals.
Heard that too.
Okay, hate that idea. He's already been. Here's the thing. I'm not sold on Josh McScandals until that man can prove he can win without Tom Brady as quarterback. And I'm not talking about for 2 or 3 games either. I need to know he can win without a Hall of Fame quarterback, with a Hall of Fame head coach, with a Hall of Fame offensive line. Because he tried it in LA already, St. Louis, and he was dog poop on a stick. So I don't want Josh McScandals. He's garbage, and I need to know that he can do it someplace other than New England, because he hasn't been anywhere but New England except for one other place, and our team went in the toilet bowl when he was there right after Mike Martz left. Linehan left. Linehan hasn't been bounced around because I think the Rams know that bridge as well. So I think McScandals is out for that same reason Linehan isn't being talked about as the next head coach either. Would you agree with that at least?
I would.
Okay.
I don't think Josh McDaniels will be the next head coach. Shanahan, yeah, but here's the thing. The Rams fired their head coach yesterday.
Who?
Or like Monday, whenever the show airs live.
Who? I couldn't hear you.
The Rams fired their coach yesterday.
Yep.
They did it 3 days before game day against a division rival in Seattle, a team that the Rams have owned the last 2-3 years. Now you're going to try to, and they promoted their special teams coordinator, which, okay, yeah, you don't want the offense or defense being different. You know, you might as well get the special teams coordinator in there. The Vikings did the same thing when Zimmer went out with his eye surgery. They promoted the special teams coach to head coach. But they have all this time. Obviously, I don't know. I also heard the rumor that Kroenke did not want Fisher to get the most losses for himself. I heard that. I don't know how true it is, but you have all these. You have this opening now going into week 15. You actually have to wait 3 more weeks before you can actually even talk to somebody. And then even if you want to talk to Kyle Shanahan, you have to wait till they're out of the playoffs. Who knows if the Falcons go deep in the playoffs or not?
Unless you want Jim Harbaugh, you can talk to him right now. Here's another name I heard: the Stanford head coach. I heard his name bantered around too.
Did not hear David Shaw.
Yep, David Shaw's been a name I've heard bantered around. What do you think of that decision?
Here's why. Here's why you hear David Shaw's name. Because it's California. Because all he's got to do is take a 5-hour drive south.
Yeah. Well, I think he's a good coach too. I don't want to take anything away from Shaw. I think he's a good coach.
Oh, I don't disagree with that. He inherited a great program when Harbaugh left.
Can you say who that was again that made them great?
What's that?
Can you say that name again? Who made Stanford great?
Oh, Jim Harbaugh made Stanford great.
Yeah, exactly. The guy that's going to make the Rams great. I got it. I guess his motto could be making the Rams great again. I'm kidding. For those of you out there that are politically savvy, that was a joke. Don't freak out. It was a joke. Okay. Anyway, here's the other thing. There's a few names I've heard. Well, one other name that I've heard that I thought was really interesting. Tom Coughlin.
I've heard Tom Coughlin's name mentioned with the Jaguars.
They're talking about him with the Rams now, too, as of today.
I think that the Rams have a very young team, and I'm not sure Coughlin would mesh well with that.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
So
I think you would do better with I think he would do better with the Jaguar team. Go back to where he started with the NFL, or back when he started with the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Or brought the Jaguars, was the first coach of the Jaguars. I'm going to throw another name out at you, only because of where this person is located. I really doubt it would happen. I don't think he would do the head coaching gig. I'll actually throw 2 names out at you. And the second name could be your offensive coordinator if they choose to clean house. I've heard Mike McCoy's job is not safe, and there's a possibility with the Rams right there. But the other name I'm about to throw out at you, I know what you're going to say, and I'm already ready for the barrage. But just because he's located on the West Coast, he could do the head coach gig, or he could be the offensive coordinator. He resigned from his offensive coordinator position earlier this year, but Norv Turner's name is out there.
Yeah, Norv Turner I'd love to see as the OC. and quarterbacks coach. That would be a return to the Rams, which would be nice. I'm telling you right now, if there's another recycled dog poop, though. He didn't prove it as a coach. I'm going to throw two names at you. One of them I really don't like, and I really hope that this is just rumor and not true, because it happens every year there's a vacancy. John Gruden.
Oh, I've heard that as well, and I've heard he's very intrigued by that position.
I would be very intrigued if he would burn in hell. That's my personal opinion.
He's also making somewhere between $7 and $9 million at ESPN right now in a comfy booth with Sean McDonough. So
right, sitting up in a booth and giving analysts that I can get a third grader to give me, who knows absolutely nothing about what the hell he's talking about, who gets a boner for one team and rides that boner all game long until it's over, regardless of the score. Yeah, I cannot stand John Gruden, and I remind Ram fans out there: 6-10, 5-11, 4-12. His last 3 years in Tampa Bay, he is garbage. Now let me give you a different name. Hey, buddy. Let me give you a different name. And this one I like. Bill Cowher.
You can keep dreaming.
His wife sadly passed away.
You can keep dreaming. He is so comfortable with the CBS pregame show right now that his coaching days are done.
What about Brian Billick?
Didn't you say recycled dog poop earlier today?
Yeah. But at least Brian Billick was I can't even say he was consistent. He had a couple of good years, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, these are just names I'm throwing out there, but ultimately it's all pointless because we all know Jim Harbaugh is going to be the next head coach of the Rams, except for you.
Apparently you know something that I don't.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it makes so much sense to me. First of all, here's why I'm so hung up on this. When the COO says that Snead's job isn't safe either, okay, how much more power can you give a coach than telling him you can name the GM, you have more money than we'll throw at your feet than you could possibly imagine, we'll give you not only the grocery list, but the ability to shop the grocery list, or even offer him the GM gig. I mean, I just think, pick his own staff, whoever he wants, because Kroenke's a different owner than the 49ers owner. Kroenke's the type of owner that says, you do your thing, I'll sit back and watch and make my team good. That's Kroenke. He reminds me a lot of Carl Rosenbloom in the sense that if you win and you put it together, he will help you, but he will stay away. Now, there's one other factor, and I keep going back to it. The opportunity to beat the Niners twice, because he wants to stick it to that organization, and he wants to stick it to him bad if he ever comes back to the NFL. And I just don't think there's a better option out there right now. Although we've talked about some pretty darn good ones.
Well, don't be surprised, okay? Don't be surprised if Harbaugh is not the next head coach of the Rams. But if the Cardinals continue down the path for the next couple of seasons and Harbaugh gets a win over Ohio State and he gets into the college football playoff, I could see Harbaugh with the Cardinals. Same exact scenario. However, you mentioned just a bit ago, you said Snead's job isn't safe, and hey, you could hire a head coach, and you could name your GM.
Pete Carroll.
Completely backwards. Hey, you're the GM. You hire your coach that you want. What happened to that?
Well, then, look, here's my issue with Snead. I was really thinking about this long and hard. If you look at Snead's draft picks, I really don't have a lot of complaining. With the exception of the Greg Robinson pickup, I mean, Aaron Donald, Todd Gurley, Jared Goff, I think his first draft was the one he got Alec Ogletree, Laurinaitis and Saffold in, or whoever they drafted. I can't remember. He's had good drafts. He knows how to evaluate talent. I don't know, but I don't trust him enough because he's made some really bad moves too. specifically in free agency, for me to sit here and go, yeah, he's got the ability to hire the right head coach. Some of the names we mentioned, like Shanahan, like Norv Turner, these are coaches I would be intrigued in. I'd be willing to give a shot to, even though Norv Turner's recycled dog poop. He also had some pretty good seasons in San Diego at the end there. So it's kind of a give and take thing on that. I just don't want somebody – I don't want somebody old unless they've been tremendously successful. And there's only one coach out there that's old that's been tremendously successful. Older, meaning – no, well, yes, exactly. Tom Coughlin and Jim Harbaugh. I don't mean old in age. I mean old as in they've coached in the NFL before. Tom Coughlin and Jim Harbaugh is it. They're the only two that have done it with relative success. Everyone else is like Jeff Fisher. They've had good seasons, but they've had a lot more bad than good, and do you really want to do that right now? I would say go new if you're going to do that. If it's not Jim Harbaugh, go with I like the Shanahan pickup. Shaw, I think, would be an interesting pickup, although that's a risk. There's a few factors there. But listen, I want to wrap this up. Is there a parting part that you want to make with this? My final prediction is this. I think it's going to be Jim Harbaugh. And I think it's going to probably be a 3-year deal. I won't be surprised if he gets GM duties tied in with that and a whole crap ton of money. But that's my final prediction. I know it's early, but what is your prediction?
It's hard because there's always somebody that you don't think or haven't heard of that gets the job. However, you don't know if the Rams want to make a big splash because it is LA. They want to be right with the fans. And I don't think they want to take a shot on a college head coach who wants to make the jump to the NFL. I mean, I could see a Kyle Shanahan coming. He's got the offensive pedigree. That would be my final prediction. But really quick though, the Rams are going to have a whole list of guys. If they haven't already called them, they won't call them once Black Monday comes around. You're going to have your choice of Rex Ryan, Marvin Lewis, Gus Bradley, Mike McCoy. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints fired Sean Payton because their team is that bad.
Dude, I would love that pickup if they went with Sean Payton.
I'm just saying. You look at the standings on who could be fired, who may not make it past year 2 or 3 or even longer, and I don't think Chip Kelly's going anywhere, but I know you don't want Chip Kelly.
God, no.
Nobody really does except San Francisco.
Well, here's a funny thing.
Like I said,
let's experience. Let's go here for a minute. Sean Payton in LA. Who's their D coordinator?
Don't know.
Greg Williams. Guess who's not going to be their D coordinator if Sean Payton gets a head coaching job?
Oh, wow. Would they allow that?
Oh, I'm sure they would. I don't think he would go there unless they gave him the autonomy to make his own staff. There's no way.
That's where I think that if that does happen, that the Rams tell him no, that you could have Norv Turner.
Well, no, the Rams will fire Greg Williams. I mean, Greg Williams, the last 3 weeks, what has he done? If Sean Payton comes in, Greg Williams isn't the D coordinator. And that's fine with me. And yeah, Norv Turner as the OC would be interesting. I want to wrap this up with one thing. And I'm glad you brought up Sean Payton's name because I mentioned him way back in one of my early shows. I don't know if it was the first, second, or third show. It might have even been once the season started. But he's been on my radar as the next Rams head coach for a while. I didn't think it would be this quick. But look, if it's not Jim Harbaugh and it's Sean Payton, I'm doing the same jig I was doing if it was Jim Harbaugh. So I'm more than okay with that. I want to wrap this up. Bold prediction. Rams at Seattle. I don't think either one of us are going to pick the Rams in this game. Is that a fair statement?
No, I pick the Seahawks, but I won't be surprised if the Rams win another 10-6 game.
Yeah, I think. Look, here's the thing: if the we'll know early if the Rams are going to win. I think the game's going to be close regardless. But if the Rams come out motivated and swarming on defense and angry, when this team plays angry, they remind me of the 1970 Steelers defense. You can't penetrate them. When they don't play angry, they're completely paper mache. So if they come out playing mad as hell, angry and dedicated, I think Goff gets some quick passes. His receivers actually catch the damn ball. And Gurley gets some running lanes because there are some injuries in that Seahawk defense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams won, but I don't see the Rams winning. I think it's going to be like a 17-14, 20-14 type of Seahawk game. What do you for the Seahawks? I think they'll win. What do you think?
The way the Rams have been playing football, if you call it football, the
Fair.
Seahawks are coming off an embarrassing loss, and they want to get that taste out of their mouth as quickly as possible. That's why that Thursday game goes really well for them. You're going to see something like a 31-13 game.
Well, wow, you think okay.
I think that they were looking past Green Bay because their upcoming schedule is Rams, Niners, Cardinals.
They wanted to wrap up the division.
They want to wrap up the division, which is funny because if Detroit keeps winning and Seattle wins their next 3 games, and somehow Green Bay gets in as the number 6 seed, they go to Seattle.
Interesting.
How lower than you did.
What's that?
I said if the Packers make the 6 seed while Seattle's 3, the first playoff game is Green Bay at Seattle. Hello, revenge game.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup. All right, buddy, listen, I told you I didn't want to take a lot of your time, so thanks for joining the show. For those of you out there listening, that's a wrap for LA Rams Central. This will get posted probably tomorrow. We filmed it on Tuesday. Hope you guys have a great one. Eric, thanks again for joining LA Rams Central, and have a great day. Go ahead.
No, thanks for having me on, and that I was able to help out with, outsider Rams perspective.
Yeah, I it's much appreciated. I think it's wholly and warmly welcome. So thank you, Eric. That's it for LA Rams Central. Have a great week.